Guys, you're looking at an iconic piece of classic moto history. This is a 1967 Triumph TR6C. That stands for Trophy Competition. This was actually a dirt bike when it came from the factory, set up for this jacket right here. Tells a story very closely related to this bike. It's got the 1967 Grand National Champion logo on here, and the Daytona winner. They actually won the Daytona 200 on this bike right here. The guy who raced it was Gary Nixon. His name's on my jacket here. It's one of my favorite favorite jacket to wear in videos. I just love the jacket. He was number 9. And this jacket is a replica of the one that he rode. It was a gift from a friend, and it matches his bike beautifully. And this bike's a real deal, man. They raced this same model, the TR6C, won the Grand National Championship, which included flat track, TT, and moto, and some cross-country races. So they competed on these in the Barstow to Vegas. They would compete in flat track and TT at Daytona and all the big events, road race at Daytona. And this was it. They used this frame and this engine. They would change the gearing and the suspension setup from race to race. And this is not a street motorcycle set up for the dirt. This is the competition model that we set up for the street. We went right through the bike. It was a good friend of mine, Jack Weaver, who owned about 100 bike collection that he auctioned off. And I went to the auction and bought 20 of the bikes. I had my eye on this bike. I knew exactly what it was. It was a couple years ago we bought the bike, and we've been working on it, bringing it up to the condition it is now. When we bought it, Jack's a professional painter. So if you look at the gas tank, he laid down this stunning paint job here with the period correct Triumph Tiger on the side and the checkered flags and the racing stripes, and he painted the frame and put the Bellstaff logo on, and painted the oil tank and the side cover, polished all the aluminum on it nicely. But we took it to the next level. We did a bunch of work on it too, but I really fell in love with this bike when I saw it. I think the tires that were on it were from the early 70s. Jack hadn't ridden the bike much, and the tires were hard as a rock, so he put brand new Trials tires on there, and this thing handles freaking amazing. It runs spectacular. It's got new chain, new tires, and the entire bike has been gone through top to bottom cosmetically. Every single surface on this bike has been polished or painted or somehow polished, plated, or painted. So unique to this bike is the 2-into-2 dual exhaust, which has no baffles, and it sounds pretty wicked. It sounds pretty amazing, and it hauls ass for a 650 twin. This bike's almost 60 years old, and it looks and runs phenomenal. The fork boots on the front here are new. The fork lowers were painted. The brakes were serviced. Brand new front tire. The fork seals and oil were redone. All the wiring in the headlamp is new. The bars are later model enduro bars. It came to me from Jack with this route sheet on here, and I didn't want to mess with it, so I just left it on there. So that's before there was GPS one. They had route sheets back in the day. This is before beepers or cell phones or any of that stuff. It's almost 60 years ago, you know. The speedometer is showing 13,677 miles. It's currently not working, and we didn't want to spend any more money on it. We put over 125 hours of shop labor and a couple thousand in parts. So along with the work Jack did to it, there's over $26,000 in shop labor and parts that have been put into it, which is more than they're selling for at auction. We have the Mecum comps, one sold for in the last. There's a number on the Mecum comp auction platform that sold for between $15,000 to $24,000. There was 8 of them that sold for in that ballpark in the last 2 years. So again, another labor of love where we've invested not only all that parts and labor, but I also bought it at auction and shipped it here. So pretty big investment. The number plates, a 48T, that was a period correct number style, and T was something they would run on off-road models. So it had these number plates and stickers on here when I got it from Jack, so I just left them on there. I thought they were cool. And you can see underneath the seat, all the wiring is brand new. We went through the entire wiring harness. In fact, we converted it to a 12-volt from the 6-volt system to a modern 12-volt ignition. And all the wiring is new. The battery is new. The headlight works. The horn works. The taillight works. And it's a street legal race bike, not a street bike set up for racing. Bill Kelly, he's retiring this year. He's in his mid 60s and has been here with us since we opened the museum in 2018. And I've known Bill and worked with him in the Suzuki shop in West Hartford since 1984. I've known him literally forever, since I was in high school. And he's the tech who did all of the work on this bike here for us. So he went right through it, put all new oil lines on it, a new oil pressure relief valve, researched the best way to make it a street legal bike from a competition model, and determined converting it to a 12-volt positive ground electronic ignition with a standard charging system, so you get rid of the Lucas stuff, and a headlight, tail light, brake light with horn. That was the best direction to go. So he went through the entire wiring and ignition. Everything's brand new. The engine and transmission oils were flushed. The oil tank and the fuel tank were cleaned and flushed out. Installed the new oil lines and the pressure relief valve. Removed, disassembled, and inspected the oil pump. Removed the energy transfer ignition components and installed the Surefire 12-volt ignition system. Wired it for negative ground operation. Fabricated the battery box holder brackets in an ignition module mount. A new regulator rectifier mount. Fit the new battery with a new tender lead. Cleaned, adjusted, and rebuilt the carburetor. Replaced the intake seals. Checked and adjusted the valves. Removed and resealed the exhaust system. Added exhaust clamps at the cylinder head. Tuned the bike, dialed it in, tuned the carburetor, changed all the fluids, installed a genuine Lucas brand 10 amp stator and rotor kit. Also installed a solid state 10 amp 120 watt regular rectifier unit to replace the Zener diode and rectifier. Has a new wiring harness, all new wires. Inspected the clutch, replaced the sprocket door gasket and seals, the primary chain and the tensioner, the clutch hub rollers, also the alternator studs, and a heavy-duty impregnated primary gasket and Bel-Ray primary lube. Installed the new gold Regina 530 chain. The tail lamp, when he got it, was just didn't have the wires in it, so they put new wires in it and wired their taillight and the brake lights. Made a harness for the taillight and the brake light. Installed the brake light switch and fabricated the mount and the actuator mechanism. Added fuses for the lights and ignition system. Mounted and wired the horn. Wired the ignition switch. The headlamp has an on and off and a high-low beam switch on it now. Mounted and balanced the front tire. Installed the front brake cable. Installed the new fork gaiters. Adjusted the tank cushions. Replaced the fuel petcocks and fuel lines. Test rode the bike several times, made adjustments, found an oil leak at the primary transmission, so replaced some gaskets and seals there. The oil level pipe assembly he removed and resealed. He capped the chain oiler line at the tank and installed a metering screw, screwed all the way in to eliminate the automatic chain oiler. Test rode, removed the oil tank fill cap and observed the healthy flow of oil through the return line pump. Adjusted the throttle and brake cables, and he diagnosed the speedo in op as a stuck speedo drive. So the speedo needs to be sent out and repaired, but we're basically way over the budget of what we should have spent on it. So we're not going to do that. Just disclosing that. So full disclosure. Bunch of time chasing parts, researching options, and Bill literally worked on it on and off for the last almost 2 years to get it where it is now. Bill's very thorough and very experienced and took his time and made this the street legal ripper that it is today. His service order is 3 pages. It's a little three, actually it's 4 full pages of notes. Check this out. So I'm not a retard, I can read, but man, it's a little difficult going through this, and it's shocking when you look at the 125 hours labor, plus the parts. It came to $20,232 plus the 40 hours that Jack put into it on the cosmetic restoration. So it's literally a $26,000 work order, and he tallies up all the hours from each project he did. But it's trying to read this is like trying to read a Chinese haiku, you know. It is what it is, but it's all here. So that's page 2. That's page 3. And that's page 4. So everything's thoroughly documented. Then there's a 2-page parts list here. New oil tank filter, new oil tank filter washers, new oil tank feed pipe, new spark plugs, new oil pressure relief valve, new Regina chain, new battery, new sprocket door gasket, new sprocket cover seals, new sprocket cover screws, new chain tensioner, new alternator studs, new alternator lead grommet, new primary chain, new front brake cable, new hardware, nuts and bolts, new rollers, new clutch hub, new stator, rotor upgrade. That part alone was $396. A new regulator rectifier, $264. A new Payson ignition, $237. New heavy duty primary gasket, new stainless engine cover screws, new clutch cable adjuster, new gearbox oil seal, new chrome horn, new 4-speed gearbox nut tab, new front tire tube, and a new rear tire and tube, a new Bellray 2050 motor oil. Sorry if that was painful. Hopefully it was not as painful for you as it was for me trying to read that, but you get the idea. I literally for a year would come in and you know, it'd be on his bench on and off, on and off, on and off. And it took a while to get it where it is. It looked almost this nice when we got it from Jack because he had painted it, but the wiring needed a complete redo of the wiring harness to make it street legal and conversion to 12 volt and, you know, going through the primary and all the primary seals and the transmission seals. It was a project, man. It was 125 hours of labor, including 32 hours in the detail shop where they painted the swing arm, the frame rails, the polished all the aluminum, repainted the fork lowers. It's what we'll call a labor of love. It takes a long time to do one of these, and we got a king's ransom tied up in it, but it's a classic piece of moto history. It now has a keyed ignition, so you can set this up, ride this down. If you roll down a Main Street Daytona or the Daytona 200 on this, on a sea of wannabe new bikes, this is going to be the only genuine bike that was actually raced at Daytona that you'll see on the street. You could actually ride this down Main Street Daytona. There's not many 60-year-old classic race bikes that are street legal and fun to ride. This is one very iconic classic piece. And Steve McQueen rode one of these. Bud Ekins in the movie The Great Escape made the Triumph in that era. It's like the vision of him jumping it over the fence. He was a stunt double for Steve McQueen. He literally jumped it over a fence. It's just like an iconic piece of moto history. And it did win at Daytona in 1967, this bike, and the racing pedigree on it is second to none. And now it's been totally restored and ready for museum display or ride it. Register it and ride it. Starts easy, runs great, clutch is brand new, plenty of power, top end's oil tight, which is ironic for a 60-year-old Triumph. You know, they usually leak. This one's tight. You can see the air filter's brand new, the carbs, all the new gaskets on it, and it's ready for a new home. If you have any questions about it, give us a call, 860-454-7024. It'll be on display on the 3rd floor of the New England Motorcycle Museum, 1 floor above here. If you want to come take a look at it, you can get in here 7 days a week now. Ship this anywhere in the country for you, and we offer financing. We can actually finance classics, and they are eligible for a Roth IRA. Talk to your accountant. You can actually buy classic motorcycles as part of your retirement, that's what I did. I invested all my money in classic motorcycles or this museum. That's about it. Motorcycles in the museum and a farm with 2 motocross tracks on it so I can ride them, but forever on private ground. But so, yeah, kind of rambling. I think I covered everything. If you have any questions about it, give us a call, 860-454-7024. It's was with Jack for the last 40 years and with me for the last 2. And we're looking to find it a forever home. It's going up for sale again. So thanks for watching, and God bless America.